this is our last topic under law of tort. You can refer to lecture number 16. We have law of tort for the nuisance. Even though there is another category of the law of tort under defamation or fitnah or slander, but then that topic is not covered in our syllabus. So that is why this topic will be covered as the last topic for the law of tort, and after that we will continue to the arbitration and construction contract, focusing on the construction contract. Okay, as a briefing, just want to let you know this topic will come out in your final exam. So you can go through, when I say this topic come in the final exam, you may need to focus more, you may need to understand how the establishment of the nuisance, what are the example, and the most important is when you explain the establishment of the law of tort, you are able to refer to the example given, refer to the previous court cases, especially on the judgment. Okay, because when you are going to suggest your own answer, you have to refer to the judicial decision or judgment made in the previous court cases. So basically, when we talk about this nuisance, I expect my student to at least identify what are the definition, and then two main categories of the nuisance. We have public nuisance and we have private nuisance. So the word nuisance itself is actually means disturbance, okay, interference. It also means, some people say annoying, make noise. So that actually the impression of the word nuisance. It is actually more than noise, but the noise that make you feel so discomfort and you feel so interfered in enjoying your own property, your own land. Simple example when we talk about nuisance is where you are having your in Malaysia nowadays we call it as PDPR. You have online lecture and suddenly your neighbor is carry out construction works where it really makes you feel discomfort. Or maybe your neighbor is playing the guitar equipment of the music equipment, very loud voice that make you feel so stressful. Okay, so that are basic example to share with you that nuisance may happen where the people may claim for damages. Okay, now we also need to know what are the issues that lead to the establishment of the nuisance. And when we talk about nuisance, we also mention about whether the action carried out by others to you or as the owner of the property, as the owner of the land, is reasonable or not reasonable. Okay, it is actually based on cases and cases by cases. It is not having the specific rule that, okay, this is reasonable, this is not reasonable. That's why we have to look at cases by cases. And at the end, this is what I did mention, where some of your assignment number 2 also lead to the word law of tort under nuisance. So you must be able to apply the knowledge of nuisance in the problem solving given either in assignment number 2 and also in final exam. Final exam, you are given 4 compulsory questions. So 2 of them sub question where we have the nuisance. But of course, open book, you are able to refer. You are able to refer to the lecture notes, example, whatever reference. But of course, you have to make sure that you understand the concept. Then you are able to write down properly in answering the case given. I don't want to go so detailed because you are going to listen again in, I think, 20 minutes plus 25 minutes plus 40 minutes. So it's almost 2 hours listening back to the recorded for the law of nuisance. But at least I would like to communicate with all of you that this is the topic that is part of the important topic related to our construction industry and also related to the syllabus, related to the assessment that you have to do at the end of the semester. Is it okay, Jason? Jason? Lamichi, is it okay? Do you have the impression on the word nuisance? Do you understand at least, okay, this is what the nuisance means? Tanjaki, you can also refer to the word of the day here, something or someone that annoys you. You always see the people say, oh, you are so annoying. Okay, or someone who caused trouble for you, someone who suddenly block the way where you have to go to to your own house, for example. Someone put something that block your scenery, okay? And then we also need to know, at least at the first impression, you need to know the purpose of having this law of thought is to provide the comfort to the person, okay? To make sure that you feel comfortable with your own property, you feel okay, you are not feel stressful, okay? And then after this, you can see there are the explanation on whether the nuisance and trespass to land is similar, or is there any overlapping, is there any difference, okay? What are the relationship based on the case that I have shared in the lecture notes, okay? And then there is another issue that I also highlight in the lecture notes regarding to nuisance and negligence. In order for you to answer or understand about the nuisance, you must at least know the basic concept of the negligence. Now, I would like to ask the student, what are the three elements to form, to establish the negligence? Number one, can Liu Kanling mention? Liu Kanling, number one. Liu Kanling, element number one. Number two, Xiao Jailin. Xiao Jailin, and number three, Tan Jiaqi. There are three Tan Jiaqi. They are basically three elements to establishment of the negligence. Liu Kanling, can you give me one? You can either open back your recorded lecture. Now, the first one, Tan Jiaqi, yes, damage. So, in order to claim for the negligence, you must show that you suffered damage. Okay, Liu Kanling, what is the first one? Number two, Xiao Jailin. Before you want to claim that, okay, this damage, I would like to show that I already suffered the damage. Xiao Jailin, duty of care should be by Liu Kanling, because before you mention about duty of care, before you mention about the person has owed a duty of care, you have to also consider another issue. So let me see the answer. Tan Jiaqi mentioned about Tan Jiaqi, yes, damage. So I put here, this is the damage. And then Xiao Jailin, yes, this is the breach of duty of care. And Liu Kanling also mentioned duty of care. So the word duty of care means the person owes a responsibility on what he is going to do and what had been done, okay? Right, so in this discussion, you can see whether the negligence is the prerequisite for the nuisance or it is separate issue. Okay, but that's why, of course, you have to understand what is negligence before we go to nuisance. Because sometimes when we bring the matter to the court, the claim is not stated whether it is negligence or nuisance. Then it's up to the court to decide, okay, this is actually not the issue of the negligence, but this is more than negligence, that is nuisance. Okay, so please refer back to the keywords that have been mentioned by your friend: duty of care, breach of duty of care, and also the damage. And after that, you can see the explanation on the word reasonableness. So if you remember, do we have the word reasonable in the negligence? Yes or no? Miza? Do you see the word reasonable? Man task or reasonable man in the negligence or in the trespass? Which one? Jason? Chai Chuan Wei? Either one. Jason or Chai Chuan Wei or Jason? Where you see the word reasonableness in the law of thought? Can I get your response? Chai Chuan Wei or Jason? Under trespass or under negligence? Anyone would like to help? I'm calling Chai Chuan Wei and Jason. You can just answer anyone. Jason, are you there? Jason Lau? I can see that you are there. Yes. So which one? Can you try? Trespass or negligence? The word reasonable, man test or reasonable? Which one? Or anyone would like to respond? Jason, in what category when you say it's about trespass? In what category of trespass you see the word reasonable? Class, you may need to check the discussion under the trespass and negligence again, because we always refer to the word reasonable when we discuss about negligence, not the trespass, my dear. So what about Chai Chuan Wei? Chai Chuan Wei, what do you think? In what topic under negligence you see the word reasonable? I already give you the answer because your friend already tried. So in what element you mentioned, you will see the word reasonable man test? Is it duty of care or breach of duty of care, or maybe the damage? Which one? Then Jackie, would you like to help? That means you have to double check again, because that is basic concept. Okay, even if you did not listen to the recorded lecture for the 2 hours, but if you go through the lecture notes, if you see the lecture notes, you should know where this one come from. UUG, thank you. Yes, this is under duty of care, not under breach of duty of care. Okay, so because when we would like to see the establishment of the duty of care, we would like to see whether the action done by the defendant is reasonable and just, and it is either forcible or not forcible. So there are a little bit similarity in the establishment of the nuisance and negligence. Okay, please go through all the example, because when we discuss about reasonableness, there are a lot of court cases mention that the ordinary disturbance is not considered as not reasonable. Okay, only extraordinary reasonable action by the neighbor or the neighborhood, or maybe the person who carry out activity around your property or the land will be deemed to be considered as not reasonable. Only when the defendant found to be acted as not reasonable, then only the nuisance is established. That is basic concept. So there is no definite formula or way or precise formula available under English common law to explain whether nuisance is established. And there are a lot of factors that you have to consider based on this example of the issue. Either based on location, sometimes based on the motive. Is there any is there any malice issue? Is there any implication based on interference and so on? Okay, and I also highlight a little bit on the statutory duty or statutory liability that lead to the statutory nuisance. Basically, there are two categories of the nuisance. Number one, public nuisance, and number two, private nuisance. You can see in my lecture notes, in the boxes are actually to highlight the example of the court cases or example of the explanation from the theoretical that you can see on the left hand side. Okay, so please see both. So every time you see this one, you can see, oh, this is actually to show the judgment of the court case, and also the sometimes only the judgment without the fact case, because it is depending on what issue that I would like to highlight in explaining the public or private nuisance. Okay, so please be familiar with these court cases, because somehow I may edit some of the fact case. Then you have to evaluate whether this scenario amount to nuisance or not. Okay, there are more explanation on the private nuisance because a lot of people actually claim under private nuisance other than public nuisance, and because public nuisance is amounting to the criminal, a lot of action is being carried out by local authority or maybe by making the police report to stop the action carried out by the defendant, possible defendant. Okay, so you can see here example of the private nuisance. We have substantial interference. The word substantial means huge, a lot. Okay, it is not just touching in each other. Okay, you touch, then you feel disturbed. No, it is not like that. It is substantial interference. Where you feel really stressful because of activity or conduct by the defendant. Substantial means big, large, right? There are also few examples, and then you can see also some cases have been highlighted in detail to cover the issue of unreasonableness. Unreasonableness conduct by the defendant. That is where the plaintiff can claim from the defendant. And I also put some example that is also relevant to the construction industry. Also based on the property development issue, not only on the daily life, but also based on the activity that we have in construction industry. So you can see cases by cases that have been highlighted. Basically, most of the cases are from English common law because Malaysia also referring from that. And in order for us to make the judgment, we have to refer to the triggered case. That means the original case that makes the English common law decision to be used as the principle in our own decision. Okay, so there are also issues whether if your activity actually give the benefits to the public, can you be considered as the people who actually carry out the nuisance? So there are cases by cases where sometimes activity carried out by you, even though it is benefits to the people around, okay, to the citizen, but if they are able to show the substantial interference, it is amounting to nuisance. But there are cases, if you look at the example, in this case, Perpadanan Pengurusan and Adam versus Ursel, you can see the difference of the judgment. Okay, there are cases where the court grant the plaintiff to claim under the nuisance. Sometimes the court did not grant the plaintiff to claim under the nuisance. Okay, please go through all this example. And the last one, the explanation that are possible to be considered by the court in establishing the issues bring by the plaintiff under the private nuisance. Okay, there are few examples also have been given. Please go through all. An example of the joint and several liability. Some of the topic are also related with the previous topic like negligence. Okay, and then I also highlight on the damage and the remedies, what can be done. Every time you see the word remedy, it is something that must be in your mind. What is the meaning of remedy? Okay, what is the meaning of remedy? Last time we have covered this one under breach of contract. So what is the meaning of remedy? Mifzal? Compensation. Compensation is one of the remedy. Now, if I ask you, what is the meaning of remedy? What do you understand with the word remedy? Mifzal? Mifzal Nabil bin Shamsul Arif. Shamsul Arif bin Shamsul Arif. Mifzal Nabil? Would you like to get some keywords? What is actually remedy? Lam Yichi? Lam Yichi, Liu Kanling? Anyone? Thank you, Tanjaki. Yes, that is one of the example. But I would like to know whether you really understand the word remedy. When I give you the question, can you tell me a remedy for breach of contract? Can you tell me the remedy for the remedy for the nuisance? What are the remedy and the negligence? That is the pattern of the question. So what is the meaning of that? Lam Yichi mentioned claim for damages. The word claim itself is correct. Okay, so damages is one of the example. Mizal, I'm waiting for your response. What else can you say about remedy? Mizal, are you there? Just anything that you understand with the word remedy. This is something that you have learned also under the law of contract. If I ask you, Mizal, what are the remedy if you had found to be negligence in maybe in carry out in driving your car, for example, you had found to be negligence. So what are the remedy that available for me, who is actually the plaintiff? So what you understand with the word remedy? Mizal, you can use your own words. You can use the word that you are familiar with. Overview. Good try. But remedy is more on the option that you have. Okay, that is why when I asked your friend just now, your friend mentioned about compensation, damages. So remedy is more on option that I have. I am the plaintiff now. let's say you has proven to be the person who carry out negligence. Okay, so if I am the injured party, I am the plaintiff, what can I do to get, or what option I have to claim from you? Can you see that, Mifzal? The word claim is acceptable. The word option is acceptable. So the remedy that are available in the nuisance, in the negligence, in some law of tort are basically similar. Okay, general remedy are considered as monetary compensation, duit, money. But another remedy for the nuisance are also including the injunction. Injunction means the court order. Let's say you would like to stop your neighbor from playing guitar all over the night. What you can do? You cannot simply get the money to stop him, right? Okay, but you have to get the police or the court order to make sure that he stop from continuing his interference to the neighborhood. So that is another option that is available for the parties who are considered as the injured party, the plaintiff. Is it okay, Ms. Zhao? Ms. Zhao? That is option remedy. Okay, so under the law of tort, under the nuisance, we have sometimes injunction, monetary compensation, and sometimes they are both. Okay, and the last topic under this law of tort are the explanation on the defenses. Okay, there are possibilities where I will ask you to defend yourself in the question, defend the defendant or assist the defendant in the accusation under the nuisance, for example. So at least you are able to identify, if I am the person who had been sued, what can I do? You can say that I actually carry out this nuisance because this is under my statutory duty. I actually, yes, I admit that I carry out this nuisance, but the implication is just small or trivial, very small implication to the plaintiff that did not really cause the plaintiff to feel interference with my action. So that is the scenario where if you are in the defendant side. Okay, UEG, is it okay? If you have faced with this scenario as the defendant, you also need to know that, okay, my activity actually is lawful. I did not carry out something that is not lawful, and my activity is reasonable within the ordinary action by the people who own the property, for example. Okay, so basically these are the briefing on the topic under the law of tort. I hope everyone is able to take note, and let's say there are words that you are not familiar to or familiar with, please check the dictionary or please get more explanation, and let's say you really cannot get it, then you can refer to me or the books or any online sources that are available. Okay, because for me explaining the words by words also need the student effort to find in the dictionary or law dictionary. There are also a lot of online law dictionary available in the search engine, especially under the Google. Okay, so that are the briefing and the law of tort for the nuisance. Any questions so far?